yes, hello. I am James Rowlands and say it's a WNR565. It's NXT Update and Worlds Collide. And I'm not alone. I have pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan demigod. It is Monty. How's it going, man?
Oh man, always excited to be back talking about NXT. We got a lot of exciting stuff to catch up on, man, especially with the AAA involvement and all of that, and even getting caught all the way up to basically our most recent episode. So I can't wait, man. We got a lot to catch up on. It's been a lot of, I wouldn't say necessarily changes, but it's definitely been a lot of interesting decisions, in my opinion. So I can't wait to really go through some of them with you and get your thoughts on some of it too. So it's always fun. I'm always excited to be back doing the NXT show.
Yeah, and again, people are happy that we're here because they want us to get up to date. Because some of them are like, "Oh, when are you going to do it?" But it's like a nice car journey, guys. All right, we're going to get to our destination right now. Like I said, we've got 5 episodes of NXT, we've got TNA and Wells Collide with AAA sprinkled in. But we're going to start
Right.
with the May 27th episode of NXT, open with a video package recapping what happened at Battleground. Doesn't that seem like a long time ago, boys and girls? Before Ricky Saints made his way to the ring to defend the North American Championship against Ethan Page. He didn't wait for the official instructions, began brawling before the bell. Security pulled them apart as the crowd chanted, "Let them fight." After a few minutes, security had to get involved again as they tried to use weapons. NXT General Manager Ava came out and said they wanted a clear winner. The announcer said it wasn't necessarily a no DQ match, but the referee was given more discretion. He go dropped Saints across the chair with a net breaker, and the referee spent a long time checking on him. Saints managed to kick out of the Ego's Edge, but Page hit the twisted grin to become the new North American champion. Oh
Wow.
my God, Monty! First match in, and look what's happened.
Yeah, man. What a match too. That like again they have such incredible chemistry. It was kind of interesting, like the whole. You might as well call this no DQ because, like, come on now. But the thing is I think they could have did even more with more time. They went a little bit over 10 minutes, 12 minutes. So it wasn't like it was the longest match, but they left me wanting more. In general, even with a title change that I definitely was shocked by because, I thought if Ricky was going to be champion, this would be one of them a longer, title reign. So I was wondering, I was like, is Ricky legitimately dealing with like an injury or something? Like it definitely made you ask a couple questions, but at the same time, Ethan has been so great in this role as a foil for Ricky so far, basically as his very first real, rival in NXT. I just love the violence. For some reason, even with the Javon Evans feud, for some reason, if you really think about it, pretty much since Ethan Page kind of messed up his mouth or whatever,
Mm.
he's been very violent. So I do love this side of Ethan Page. And so I didn't really mind him becoming champion, even if it was at the expense of Ricky, because I think we have so much more of a story that we can still tell here between these two guys. So I thought this was great. Again, it left me wanting more, and it was a hell of a way to kick off the show because you weren't really expecting it.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is excellent. They always talk about, like I said, they build up NXT shows, but start with this title change was a shock as well. All Ego wins another title, and like we talk about, he's kind of been Mr. NXT these past 12 months,
Yeah.
even if he's been here that long. And like I said, it was an excellent way to start the show. We had TNA's Mike Santana make his in-ring debut when he took on Tavian Heights. Santana made his way through the crowd and looked hyped up. Heights put up a good fight, but Santana was able to get the win with Spin the Block. He showed Heights respect after the match, but Charlie Dempsey looked furious. But again, and Mike Santana's got the big matchup coming with Trick. It was nice for him to get his moment because a lot of people might not know Santana and the kind of the
hmm
struggles that he's had. So it was a nice moment.
Yeah, I mean, I was genuinely impressed because as much as I've kind of seen clips of him in his singles run, and I saw a couple matches a few times I watched Impact, but I thought it was cool to kind of watch him in this environment in NXT. I thought Tavion gave a pretty good showing, pretty much one of his best opportunities to show what he can do pretty much since he was in North. So I thought, again, him and Mike did really well, with the time they were given, and it was a decent match. It definitely made me wonder too, just how serious is WWE or is WWE considering a guy like a Mike, kind of like what I was thinking with Joe Hendry, because you always kind of I don't want them to just purge any talent from Impact. But guys like a Mike Santana who has something fresh and like you said, like has so much personality and so much of a great story, a guy like him would, in my opinion, fit in if they were to try to give him an opportunity when his contract was up in Impact. So looking at him in this setting with a younger guy like Octavian Height definitely made me wonder, okay, besides the fact that I knew he was going to be fighting Trick soon, it definitely made me want to consider what could be next for Mike Santana other than WWE banner.
Yeah, without a doubt, he did look great, and he's had a great TNA run. But look, Chris Fino said he didn't mean to screw Tony. I believe him. Trick Williams came out after the break. The crowd chanting "whoop that trick" as he celebrated winning the TNA World Title from Joe Hendry. He turned on the crowd a bit and said NXT didn't appreciate him, so he was going to go to TNA. Santana came out to give him props, but says Trick is not his champion. So the title holder must made a bad impression by trying to tear down TNA in his promo, and he called him a pretender. Santino Morella appeared, told Williams already had his first defense set up against Santana. And again, we knew this was going, but it's nice if TNA being so involved, it seems, of NXT at the moment.
Yeah, man. Like it's one of the coolest little elements, in my opinion, about their relationship is that you, like I said, you kind of get a chance to see both sides of it, whether you're watching Impact or whether you're watching NXT. So, I when I knew the partnership, as the partnership has developed, I still wasn't really sure just how much impact you would see bleeding into NXT and vice versa. But like you said, they've done a really good job of kind of balancing it. And then, like I said, when you got a guy like Trick Williams walking around with the Impact Championship, it's been even more intriguing, to say the least, with the way they've kind of allowed everybody to work together and again kind of fit it in seamlessly, and still, in my opinion, respect Impact enough to kind of make it its own thing because it doesn't feel like it's just something tacked on to what
Mm.
they're doing in NXT either.
Yeah, without a doubt. Stephanie Vaquer and Lola Vice appeared to have formed some kind of alliance during a backstage segment with Ava. Jada Parker beat Tatum Paxley. Having Paxley carry around dolls made to look like released superstars, it's certainly a
Mm.
choice, Monty, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. I get it, but yeah, interesting to say the least. I guess that's the best way to kind of describe it.
The
I
winner,
don't know if that would be my decision, but
yeah,
it's a decision.
at least they're not Mattels, I suppose. But the winner of WWE NFG Season 1, Jasper Troy, made his official NXT debut against Dante Chen. I didn't know Chen was still employed, as a bit of a
Yay,
bonus.
yay
Over
for him.
Femi's music hit and he appeared to the crowd's nest. He said Troy's 5 seconds of fame are over, so they'll obviously have a match soon. Ethan Page came out to celebrate winning North American title, but he's interrupted by Javon Evans and Laredo Kid from AAA. Ray Phoenix also showed up. So looks like a Worlds Collide Fatal 4-Way will happen. What a quick turnaround that was. I mean, he had just won the title. It's almost like they ran out of episodes before the show, you know?
Yeah, man. They move quick, but again, they have so much going on when you're trying to book Impact matches or maybe a pay per view match for Impact, and then you gotta try to figure out the AAA stuff. I don't really envy how much planning, and then you're also trying to plan your own PLE. So yeah, it's they definitely develop this angle as fast as possible.
The main event with the NXT Women's Championship, Stephanie Vaquer versus JC Jane. A couple of women from AAA showed up, but Vice came to fight them off. The distraction almost led to Jane getting the win, but the champion kicked out, hit a springboard crossbody. Jane got into an argument with Fallon Henley at ringside, but that didn't matter because she still helped Jane score a surprising win to become the NXT Women's Champion. I can't believe I've just said that, Monty. We have seen Jay's possession, through NXT since the very beginning. She is now NXT Women's Champion. Not only that, she beat Stephanie Vaquer. Even the crowd couldn't believe it. It was a moment.
And that's probably the best. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. It's the best thing about it to me was because it was genuinely one of those things that I feel like I won't forget because of stuff like that. Because, like you just mentioned, nobody, not including everybody in the building, and even the workers sold it well. Like it was a really big moment. And to be frank, especially when you talked about release superstars early. We talked about this. When you think about toxic attraction, JC Jane was not the one that I would be saying would be the last one standing and the
Hmm.
currently on top of the division after all this time. As much as I do think her work has been solid, especially in this heel role, because honestly, she hasn't really done as far as character development. I mean, she's just been JC Jane this entire time, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So she was always kind of feeling like the other girl, even though I don't think it was anything particularly wrong with her. So for her to get that opportunity is so shocking, especially when you think about the effort that a Jordan Grace put in and was not able to win the championship. And then so soon to kind of after that, pretty much to have Stephanie drop the belt here. I think we all knew that's kind of why I was going for Jordan in that match. That we kind of knew Stephanie wasn't long for NXT. I mean, pretty much since post WrestleMania, they've been pretty much keeping her involved with Raw,
Mm.
also kind of like Roxanne. So we knew what was gonna happen. And like, so you would expect a Jordan Grace or somebody else who's been kind of carrying the women's division over the last few months to be in that position. Hell, even like a Jada Parker or something like that. So for JC Jane to be the one to do it, and then like I said, in a solid performance, I didn't think she looked so far behind Stephanie in that match either. I think they did a good job, and it was a believable, finish. But it's still one of the most shocking results when you just think about where both of these ladies were at and the trajectories and just I don't know about you, but if it was somebody I thought if it was one thing about Jason James, not only were you maybe even wondering if she was gonna make the main roster, I definitely wasn't considering her before she ended up out of NXT becoming NXT champion. So
No.
all you gotta do is tip your cap, man. I congratulations, but it was definitely one of the most shocking results. I think I don't know, man. I can't think of one that compares really when you really think about where she was compared to where she is now.
Yeah, you can't compare it to Oscar and Charlotte because again, it was on the main roster, which is a little bit different. I mean, obviously Undertaker's streak, but I think it's even like
Right,
1, 2, 3 kid beating Razor. I'm not old enough to remember that, but again,
right.
I think people that saw that because it is one of the biggest upsets. And again, I don't want to hear about secret relationships between JC Jane and Shawn Michaels, right? That's nonsense. Let's not start a rumor here. But I mean, it's got to be a reason, you know. But Stephanie, again, we talk about turnaround, and buy Steph, but straight into a Money in the Bank qualifier, into Money in the Bank, so
Right.
she'll be all right, you
She's
know.
fine. Right. Got over that pretty fast.
But again, as you said, for an episode of NXT to have two, what definitely main event was shocking, and even the first one was. It was a great episode of NXT to start us off with this
Mhm.
update.
Oh, definitely. Really good episode to kick us off. Like you said, two shocking title changes. We don't get that, especially on just weekly free television. You don't get it, but we got it on the same show. And like you said, one of them is just like a complete underdog type of, overcoming the odds, even as a heel type of deal. It was again, it's impressive whether you like JC Jane or maybe you've never liked anything she's ever done. I still think you got to be like, wow, that's pretty damn cool to kind of again come out of nowhere like that, and you are the choice because again,
Yeah.
like I said, you got the Jordan Gray. We talked about how deep this division is all the time, and most of the time, me and you was talking about that. I don't think we was listing JC Jane toward the top of that list. So it's just amazing when you really think about it.
Yeah. And again, the week that was, if anybody with the last update, we finished on Trick Williams winning the TNA title. And like I said, following NXT 2 title changes, as we went to Impact on May 29th, they treated it like someone had died. I kid you not. Tom Hannafin was like, and welcome to
Well,
TNA in the, and it's like, man,
it's so
and Tom,
disgraceful.
and then Tom like worked himself up. He goes, he's just a son of a bitch, just. Speaking of bitches, anyway, Robert Stone was in action. He teamed with Alicia Fox and pinned Ariana Grace, who was teaming with her dad
Wow.
Santino, which it should have been fun, but it just it wasn't. We'll move on. June 3rd, NXT opened a recap of what happened last week, and of course we got hype for Worlds Collide. The Radio Kid, Javon Evans, Ethan Page appeared to promote the North American title match. Ray Phoenix was absent, and then we got Evolve. Sean Legacy showed up because he would face the winner of the North American title bout at Worlds Collide. We got more Evolved talent showed up because a huge brawl broke out because this is NXT. Then we've got Dark State defeating Chase U. And again, not to be old in my references, but Chase U now feels like the fake Razor and Diesel. I don't know if
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point.
I just don't care. We want truth chants as well during this, but don't worry, it's all the part of Triple H's game. Bourne wanted out of No Quarter Catch Crew, and Dempsey gave him a chance in a rounds match, which contested the way the Heritage Cup used to be contested. Dempsey and Bourne made their entrance at the same time, which was a bit surprising. Ren Sinclair and Tevian Heights were on opposite sides of the ring instead of being a neutral corner. Bourne ended up scoring a fall right before the bell rang in the first round. Dempsey took a cheat shot after the bell, which upset Sinclair and Hypes. Dempsey scored a fall with a regal plex to even the score, and Bourne scored the win in the match and earned his way out of the No Quarter Catch Crew. First question, where the fuck is Noam Dar?
Right.
Second question, I mean, you have to fight to get out of a group rather than just kind of, leaving now, but I guess that's Dempsey's gimmick.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was always an interesting choice here when it comes to, like you say, how you choose to execute this. But again, I thought this was decent. To, like you said, seeing that stipulation and a cup and the cup not being involved is very hilarious in its own way too. It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, we got rid of the cup, got rid of the stipulation. Now we just having random rounds matches. But I do think it was really well worked. Again, I've been singing his praises pre NXT, so of course I feel like at this stage, he's also still top level when it comes to just working the ring when it comes to Dempsey, and I think Bourne is only gets better with the more that they seem to be using him. And I'm just worried, James. That's really the only thing. My end takeaway from this, as decent as I thought it was, I do worry that Charlie Dempsey will never really go anywhere when it comes to the way he's presented and all of that. I think I've mentioned that in the past that I just want so much more for a guy that talented, and maybe I just need to give it time. I mean, Jason Jane is the women's champion, so maybe I just need to give it time. But at the same time, it is frustrating when you see a guy so talented, in my opinion, kind of taking the back seat for some of these younger guys. Even though I see the potential in Miles Bourne and understand, what they're trying to do there. But yeah, man, it's interesting, man, when you look at the trajectory possibly of a Dempsey right now.
I wouldn't worry about Charlie. He can always be Ava's assistant, rolling his eyes every time she does something like that and, putting something in her tea. Anyway, the culling, or more so, Izzy Dane took out Brooks Jensen with a chair. Monty, it's nearly time for his Ring of Honor run. We're nearly there. Come on. He's out of the culling.
Oh my god! Again, I told you once. I told you, and maybe I'm the only one who can see this, but his best bet is to hope that Briggs take him back. Because honestly, I don't know what the hell else you can do with Jensen at this point. like, like honestly, the faction don't work, tag team don't work. He wasn't that interested on his own.
He didn't. He didn't even last like 5 weeks. Do you know how long was it? Like
Right. He
6
went
weeks.
crazy, and I remember him. I remember them trying. They tried the crazy gimmick already. Like they really have thrown everything at the
Mhm.
at the wall. Like they're trying things. You might be right. This guy you might be right. He might be right. Ring of Honor, television pure champion or something. Before you know it, who knows?
Oh, mate. What a dream. Olympian and WWE LFG Season 1 winner Tyra May still made her NXT debut, beating Ariana Grace. It was nice to see Grace on NXT, actually.
Right.
JC Jane came out with Fatal Influence to celebrate a title win, but Lainey Reed interrupted her to say she wanted a title shot. No, me neither.
Nice.
Lola Vice, Jordan Grace, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend, and Thea Hale showed up to state their claim.
There you
After the
go.
fight broke out, the lights dropped, and when they came back on, it was Mariah May in the crow's nest with a mic. She said we can call her the next women's champion. Oh my God, Monty! Like we
Yeah.
talk about, we're going, why JC Jane? We've got Mariah May here. The glamour has arrived in NXT.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, with a decision like you make with the Stephanie stuff, and you like we said, we know Stephanie is good as gone. We know Julia's doing her thing. Also, Money in the Bank. Also on SmackDown. Roxanne, she did her thing. She's pure main roster at this point too. So when you got, like I said, 3 of the 4 to 5 women who have been basically the talking points of this division for a while now, and you lose 3, it's like, okay. So then you go with JC Jane, is interesting. And it's like, okay, well, what are we trying to do here? And then the next week, like you said, you kind of get an answer of the direction. Yes, I believe Jordan. Obviously, she was in the promo. Jordan Grace will be in the mix. I don't know if she would be. I don't know if she would have to wait behind in line. Behind like Mariah's or whatever. But we know Jada Parker. Other people. We see who all trip right now who in NXT, everybody pretty much down there who was involved in this segment, you would assume are considered to be right in that top division to challenge Jason. And then we get, like you say, the fresh face. We get Mariah May, and we get like the glamour in NXT. Perfect timing, and I think that's kind of the most impressive thing to me is just like how perfectly timed it all is, because not only do that gives JC Jane another fresh opponent or a fresh rivalry and all of that, but it's just, in my opinion, this division that's always seemed to be loaded as of late. Just they don't seem to miss a step despite all of that great talent. I talked about them losing. So it's just, again, they may not be as deep, and some of these women are still having to prove themselves, but it definitely, in my opinion, when you have somebody like the Glamour coming in who we know can tell stories, who we know can wrestle, and then you put them in the mix in a really great, and she said it herself, still considered the best women's division in the world. So I'm excited, man. I think this is a great way to debut her and put her in front of the NXT audience for the right time, because she felt like a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, again, and it's coup for NXT, and anybody that says otherwise is just kidding themselves after the year that she had, and then to join, WWE right now. Again, let's not forget she's 26.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff. We'll
I
talk
don't know.
about the name. Go on.
I was gonna say, I wanted to ask you, because, like, I don't know if you noticed this, but why so many people who were, I guess, outside fans of WWE, who maybe they just like AEW, why so many of them seem to be surprised about the NXT, and like thinking, oh well, after what Mariah did, she should have been, you know, main roster bound. I'm just like, we just had the great Stephanie. We just had all of this
Mhm.
talent down, spend at least some months in NXT,
Yeah,
and you know what I mean? You think
yeah.
Mariah
If
is just
Oscar
gonna,
can do it, then anybody
right?
can do it.
Exactly. Like, come on now. Like,
Io was down
what are
there
you
for how
talking about?
long? Like, and
Right.
you know what I mean? And now look at her. So
Exactly.
again, for me, I thought Mariah May, she might spell it May as in like May Young. It's
Hmm.
right there, but we'll get on to that. We then saw Legacy, Dragon Lee, Javon Evans, and Laredo versus Paige and the Vanity Project. Lee scored the win for the Babe Faces team to end a fun bout. There's a lot of guys, Vanity and Chase U, that are all interchangeable. But Dragon Lee, when we do see him wrestle once a month, he does put in quite the performance, doesn't he? Then we saw Elijah in the crowd to watch Mike Santana battle Trick Williams in a TNA World title in the main event. As expected, this turned to a very physical contest right away. They weren't going for headlocks and hip tosses. They were trying to beat each other up. TNA's Casey Navarro and AG Francis showed up to interfere, attacking Santana when the referee was distracted. This allowed Williams to get the win and retain his title. Crowd liked Mike. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts about the main event. I should say I like Top Dollar now, but maybe that's a different, we'll talk afterwards.
No, he's been
Uh,
killing it. He's
he-
killing
he-
it in Impact.
yeah, like he is the heel that Logan Paul wants to be. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's not
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
just saying, "Oh, you're an idiot." It's the way he's gone about his business. He's very, very punchable. And like I said, done. I quite liked it because the TNA involvement. It was still like, well, why TNA getting involved? It's an argument of themselves rather than just some random on NXT. But I mean, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really cool. It was a really, really great performance from Mike, in my opinion, too. Another situation, another time where I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. He definitely, if they choose to go that route, he has a future if he wants it in the under the WWE banner. I mean, this match, in my opinion, really showcased a lot of his strengths. and I thought Trick Williams was a great, heel here and played up to his character well also. And I thought it was a really decent match. I was not confused, but I was definitely intrigued with why he had some Impact help because like I'm just like you. I'm watching clips of Impact and I'm catching up and I'm like, oh, okay. It seems like a lot of these Impact guys are not happy that a guy like Trick, who's been disrespecting Impact, is the champion. So to see AJ and to see them kind of, you know, come out and help him definitely intrigued me and made me want to kind of understand. Okay, so why is that going on? Is this just a what is the involvement there, and is that going to be something going forward? So yeah, man, it was definitely an interesting finish. But yeah, I thought it did what it needed to do. It was a great first defense, and I think Mike really looked good. And I don't know how much more you really could ask for when you really think about what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, if we'd beaten them clean, people would have moaned anyway. So, to
Right.
use that, and again, as Top Dollar said, and as we get into, it was a disrespect that Santana has shown him. And if you've been watching Impact, you have
Right.
seen that, so you wouldn't. And plus, he's an asshole,
Exactly.
so that
Exactly. He
helps.
don't really need a good reason because he's just a not a good guy. You know what I mean?
He
Exactly.
doesn't like
So
anybody.
right.
Impact Against All Odds. It's a great name for a pay per view. The Inspiration returned, aka the Iconics. It's been
Awesome.
3 years since we've seen it, but it is great to see them. Apparently, they've been, making families and enjoying themselves. Bastards.
Having a life. What is up
Yeah.
with you?
Duh. It's good to see him though. AJ Francis laid out Mike Santana. Kaz beat Joe Hendry. I mean,
Wow.
come on. I can see a pattern here
Fall
with
from grace?
yeah. I mean, you let TNA down, you suffer at the pay per view. Mike Santana, Joe Hendry lost, but then in the main event, Trick beat Elias. But again, Trick has improved in the ring. I can't even remember Elias winning a title in WWE. Don't worry, he won't in TNA. But again, Trick getting the experience of someone who has worked. He worked, as they kept mentioning TNA. He's faced the Undertaker, so it was a good opponent for Trick to beat.
Yeah, no, again, another notch in the belt. It also was a great way to kind of continue to give legitimacy to his run. You know what I mean, too. And like I mentioned, I thought that's why I didn't necessarily, I wasn't expecting them to give the belt to Trick. But like I said, getting all of this extra ring time, it's like I said, if you really think about it now, since he's become Impact champion, now I really do understand what Sean meant when he was choosing the man and woman of NXT. And, instead of just choosing Oba like you would expect, he said Oba and Trick Williams, because it feels like Trick Williams is that alternate, 1AB type of guy right now in NXT. And, he's also the champion and becoming a main storyline component for Impact. And I think that's only making him better. He's just more and more experienced. And honestly, you can't really ask for much more because I think we talked about this in the past with a guy like Trick that's pretty much all he needs. Like,
Hmm.
as great as he is, I think he's good on the mic, whether he's a bad guy, whether he's a good guy. I think the personality is there. We know the look is there. It's all about getting more in-ring experience, wrestling different styles, and working with as many people as possible. And so far, it feels like that's what this Impact title run is about. So yes, even if it is Elijah or whoever it may be from the Impact roster, I love it for Trick because I think that's what he needs, as much experience and exposure in the ring as possible.
Yeah, without that. Right, so enough NXT and Impact. We're going to go to AAA, June 7th, Wells Collide. I mean, I'm not saying I love kickoffs, but maybe a 30-minute pre-show letting us know the talent, and maybe, but maybe the Rey Mysterio opening video explained everything. This is, of course, streamed live on YouTube, and the most famous when Wells Collide, as it was called, was in 94 with WCW's help. In 2025, WWE owned AAA, so I guess we'll get used to it, Corey Graves was the lead. There was rumours of Mike Tenay. Of course, we've dipped into Triple Manias, but this is kind of new and exciting. I liked it. And Conan on commentary. I tell you what, Monty, I never thought I'd see him in WWE. I
Right,
was like, wow.
right, man. That what a nice touch that was. To be honest, it's like you say, Conan, man. He's one of those guys who, if you know about wrestling, you know him. But at the same time, it was definitely one of I don't know. I never really thought he was like blacklisted, but at the same time, he's never really, like you said, he has never really been on a fixture of WWE programming. But he does have roots, long roots into the Mexican wrestling scene. So it was kind of cool to get his insight. It made the broadcast feel fresh. It feel like a different event than an NXT slash WWE event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also, like I said, setting wise, it looked good because the ring was white canvas, green, red, and white ropes as well, and a lot
Right.
more of a Triple A feel than it was like a WWE light show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Definitely. I love the way everything looked. It like again, it didn't feel like you were watching a WWE production, although you were. You know what I mean? It was definitely something that leaned more into Triple A style. The crowd, the way everything sounded, it just kind of fits. Again, like I said, watching something very fresh and new, and it worked. It really worked. And even in the middle of like a Saturday, I thought it was a really good. Just everything about it kind of gave you a fresh vibe, and I love that one from my wrestling event.
Yeah, I was tempted with the Spanish commentary, and I might go back to do that, but I stuck with the English one for now. We got the Mexican and US national anthems, where Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Blue Demon, and Marissa Pena was there. Lilian Garcia sang the Star Spangled Banner. I mean, the president sure has a look, and again, this is quite good because a lot of fans probably seeing her for the first time. Yeah, and again, it's nice to have that on Twitter with people going, "What the fuck is this about?" Like.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then standing there next to Sean, just that's what a shot.
Ray makes his entrance in a suit, taking time to marvel at the AAA and WWE logos on the ring mat. He speaks in Spanish and English about the 1994 show and how proud he is that Lucha has grown outside of Mexico. He promises WWE will uphold the legacy of Lucha Libre. He remains in the ring as he enters the start for a first match. We see Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom in the crowd looking bored. Lillian was the ring announcer. She's bilingual, don't you know? And then our first match was Dragon Lee, Cruz del Toro, and Lince Dorado versus Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana. And Iguana had the crowd chanting for him the moment he got into the action, getting louder when he brought out La Yazeka to get help. And when Iguana used the Yazeka, again, Dorado hit him with a standard Spanish fly, much to the disdain of the live crowd. Octagon Jr., Aerostar, and Mr. Iguana looked to make a strong first impression against that team, and they did just that as Octagon caught Dorado with a moonsault fall away slam for the victory. Afterwards, Dirty Dom mocked Octagon to the fight broke out, and Dirty Dom challenged him to fight for the Intercontinental Championship on Money in the Bank, which we have already reviewed. So, Monty, all we've got to talk about is our new hero, Mr. Iguana.
Yeah, man. Iguana got so over, man, and like it didn't take long at all. And I'm happy, man, because like a lot of wrestling fans these days they try to ruin fun stuff in wrestling, man. It was just a lot. Just like I remember, like for example, Orange Cassidy before he kind of started to really become like a workhorse type wrestler. Like people really, for no real good reason, in my opinion, would just be so hypercritical of everything Orange Cassidy did. And I'm so happy that it seemed like for the most part, what I saw from the reaction of people online and just like you said, the crowd. I'm glad people just could sit back and have a good time because I'm pretty sure some of this was like a lot of people's first opportunity, you know what I mean, to kind of see this style of wrestling. And I thought the match was very logical, very enjoyable, classic lucha, paced, well paced 6 man action, and then like Iguana injecting some of that lucha style humor because we talked about it like you can kind of. I know we weren't really recording it, but we were talking about Japan and their humor. But a lot of we talked about Triple Manias in the past and some of the nonsense or stuff that makes no sense to us.
Hulk smashing walls and stuff. Like, yeah.
Right, yeah, stuff that makes no sense to us. But like, it's that humor that you've come to kind of know and learn, from that style. So you kind of got a little bit of everything here just to kick off the show. It was just so much fun, and like I'm definitely a big Iguana guy. now, like quickly. It didn't take me long to really enjoy what he had going on. And then like even like I said, Octagon, I know his history with Penta. Dragon Lee again. I don't really know what's it gonna take for
Mm.
WWE to realize that Dragon Lee is one of the top 10, if not like he's one of the best. He's definitely one of the best luchadors all like in the world by far. And I just don't understand. I don't know why it's never really been consistent. I don't know if it's just because of the LWO banner or whatever, but Dragon Lee needs to be pushed. And
Mm.
that's like I wrote that down. Like Iguana can make a lot of money for WWE, and Dragon Lee needs to be pushed. That was my main takeaway though. This was very very fun.
Yeah, I mean, this was WWE style lucha kind of way, but again, it was like you said, a fun opener. Wild was injured and replaced by Dorado. Aerostar outfit actually lit up, but again, I was more interested. How did he get that land on his shoulder? Like, how does he get it to land on his shoulder? I just don't know. And the other
I
thing that annoyed me about this was the kind of reaction of like, "Well, Joe Hendry, you're done now because Mr. Iguana's here," and it's like, "What? We can't have more than one fun character."
right.
Is that the
I
rule?
don't and that's what I'm saying. Like it's always those few fans who just won't let people enjoy what you enjoy. You can have more than one person who cracks you up and not be that serious. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand it, but yeah, no. Just again, kudos, man. Like I love the fact that he started off the show because again, just imagine if you never watched a AAA or never watched much lucha stuff in your life, and then this is your introduction to it, and then you see that, and you see Iguana, and you see how much fun they kind of had out of it, and then the oh my god, the attacking the iguana spot and all that. It was just
Mm.
oh man, it was just such a good time. So I can only imagine that if this is people's first time, that you can be like, oh my god, that was incredible.
Yeah. What would you score out of five?
Uh, I had a real fun with it. I give it like 4.5. Like it was really fun. Like cut your
Yeah.
brain off and just let them go out there and do what they do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll give it 4.25. And like you said, again, not to sound old, but I always remember Stan Lee saying about comic books, is that no matter, what edition it is or what number, it's always going to be for someone's first comic book. And like you said, this is going to be
Right.
someone's first match, and they will never forget the kind of the fun that was there. So yeah, 4.25. We also did predictions, double our prediction league after Money in the Bank. The bonus league is Gina's on 9, Jackson on 12, I'm on 13, Monty on 14. And prediction wise, we all went for the LWO, so we all on 0 to start off. That's a great start. So I did like the video about Antonio Pena, and then we saw Minis and Latin Lover. Come on. Legado were interviewed, and they are ready for war. We got Tiffy in the crowd because she has to do something, I suppose. Then we got Stephanie Vacura and Lola Vice versus Chick Tormenta and Dallas. Lola Vice found herself struggling early to keep up with the experienced Chick Tormenta. Vice and Vacura hit the Devil's Kiss in unison together, the loudest reaction of the crowd since Mr. Iguana. Was Stephanie? I can just imagine Booker T at home, just telling Charmel to get out of the room. Vacura got a hot tag. She ran over the competition and won with the SVB to seal the victory. Monty, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man, I thought this was really good. I thought the heels, well, they wrestled, tried to wrestle a pretty good heel team up, but for the most part, they just kind of bumped and let Stephanie and Lola get their stuff in to me. Definitely Stephanie was the showcase here. I think this match probably was hurt from the fact that I think Stephanie had another match later, so I don't think they wanted them to go too hard when you really think about the
Yeah.
wrestling you saw here. So I think that might have been the problem, but I thought for the most part this was decent. I didn't have a problem with it. I think Lola really worked hard to try to keep up with the other with what they were doing. But again, I didn't see a lot from the AAA girls to kind of stick out. So I don't know exactly how much of their work or how much of what they usually do was hindered by the fact that I think, like I said, you don't want to go too hard or fight for too long because we know Stephanie was wrestling later on that night. So yeah, man. Again, decent showcase. We know, like you said, the Devil's Kiss. I mean, come on now, it went viral. We know what that was gonna do. Now, so again, I thought it had a good moment, but it wasn't. I'm not gonna act like this was like the like a barn burner. But like I said, I don't know how much of that was hurt by how much of a load Stephanie had to carry that night. But again, Stephanie is a superstar, man. They can trot her out anywhere around the world, and you're probably gonna get that type of reaction at this point. I think we can all see the writing that she's gonna be one of the biggest faces for WWE
Mm.
going forward. Barring any extreme problems or anything. So this is great. This is I give it 3.25. Like I said, I don't think it was it wasn't offensively bad or anything, but I just thought it was simple.
Yeah. I mean, Colin had a great quote about the Hill team. He said, if you see them fighting a bear in the woods, help the bear. And that's, that's that's the kind of stuff we want. Afterwards, Vera Rodriguez interviewed winners La Primera, promised she was still ready to fight in Money in the Bank later. I'm going to give this 3 3/4 predictions. We all went for Steph, so we were all on one. Yay! Chad Gable was interviewed, and then we see Chavo sitting in the crowd on his own. Oh, poor Chavo. Oh, that's horrible. Profits were there as well, twice. And then we get Legado del Fantasma versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown. You can see I've been learning, haven't you, Monty? I've been trying my hardest. Santos Escobar tried to make a statement with Angel and Berto, but El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Psycho Clown gave him a strong fight. In the end, Escobar caught Wagner alone in the ring for the Phantom Driver to win. And this is the best. I'll let you say it. God, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. No, I give me this Legato.
Yeah.
Just in general, like this was like a really good version of them. I don't know if it was just because of the style or the opponents. Did they feel more comfortable? But even in that presentation, they just felt like more of a real deal team here. But Dr. Wagner was he was really cool. I think they got a chance to showcase everything that they wanted to do. Psycho Clown is very interesting. Uh, very interesting guy. He's a guy that again, that's what I was kind of looking at here. I was like wow, like oh man, like a guy. I can say again, when you don't know much about somebody and you just watching for the first time and you see the presentation and you see how they look, and I'm like, that with WWE budget if they want to, Psycho Clown can be another one of the. I don't know about as big as he wanna be. He could be a very interesting star going forward. So he definitely left an impression. Dr. Wagner and Los Garza were great. So I thought this was a really good showcase of the talent. Again, basically what I think this whole entire show was really about was showcasing the luchador talent from both sides. And like I said, even guys like Legado who don't really get consistent shine on WWE television was able to showcase themselves really well. And I think that's great.
Yeah, and that's what annoyed me when I was hearing people going, "Oh, we need more AAA talent on the show," and it's like it's worlds collide. Like we do need them colliding. We just not.
Yes.
It's not a AAA show, you know. And again, like I said, it's the best Legado have looked since what his cruiserweight run in NXT. And there was
Right.
there's a few missteps, but again, the Phantom Driver is one of the more protected finishers. But as soon as he hit it, I was like, "Oh, he's done.
Mm-hmm.
He's not kicking out of that." So I suppose credit for Santos there.
Right. No. You're
Right.
100% right. Like the thing is that he rarely gets a chance to
Yeah.
even come close to hitting it. But yeah, like when he does hit it, it's kind of like I don't know if it's true, but I think somebody had like a statistic that the end of days is like one of the greatest finishers in WWE history if you're just going off not kicking out of it or whatever. And I'm just
Mm.
like, wow. And think about what we think about Baron Corbin's winning percentage or whatever. So it's amazing how that works out sometimes, how guys who don't win a lot still have one of those things that if they do hit it, it's over. So no. Again, like I said, I think that's for worlds collide and for them to end up showcasing themselves well and looking great. Like you can't really ask for much more. And then, like I say, the newer faces, in my opinion, left an impression on people who don't watch all the time. And I think that's basically all you can ask for in this situation.
Yeah, I'm gonna. What would you score this at 5?
I give it a 4, even with the missteps. I think it was fun.
Yeah, I'm going to get 3 3/4 predictions. We all went for the Doctor, all on one still. Triple Eight aired a vignette highlighting the impact of the original WCW When Worlds Collide event in 1994. Again, really good stuff. Vikingo was interviewed. I like how they subtitle stuff and kept feeling it natural.
Hmm.
And again, I know we've mentioned New Japan, but I'd really like them just to subtitle the Japanese commentators as I watch the match. I know it might be more difficult, but again, if they could do that on YouTube, where I can listen to Spanish commentary with English, then I can actually learn it. Because I've got time in
Right.
my hands. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No. Trust me, I've been
but
a big proponent of that, but I don't. Again, we don't. I don't have any power all the way over here on this side
uh,
of the world.
well, maybe you can ask. Maybe you can ask someone. Savio Vega was in the crowd as well, which is good to see. NXT North American Championship next: Ethan Page versus Javon Evans versus Ray Phoenix versus Laredo Kid. I should say Laredo Kid had been an impact. Dropped the kid and had kind of been doing nothing. And then this Triple A show came along, and all of a sudden he's back in a prominent position. So good for him, anyway. This match picked up in the night in a big way for the second minute as Phoenix and Evans tried to outspeed one another. The pace never slowed down, even with all ego keeping the heat on him throughout. He showed why he is a North American champion in this fatal four-way low. He threw Javon Evans out on Ray Phoenix on the floor, then hit the upside down frown, or the, as we say, the twisted grin for the pinfall win on Laredo Kid. Monty, what were your thoughts? I thought this was excellent.
No, man, this was cool. I mean, when Laredo Kid, in my opinion, does like a Spanish fly DDT, and I still can come away from the match saying that I think Javon Evans and Ray Phoenix like maybe outclassed him. I think that kind of explains everything in my opinion when it comes to where we are when it comes to where we are in this match, because I thought Laredo Kid was very impressive, but you know, man, are we spoiled when it comes to having Javon Evans? Like Javon Evans is so good at times to where it's like I don't know, man. Like I understand what they're trying to build so far, and we'll get into it later when we talk about Jasper Troy and all of that. And I understand that maybe, you know, whatever. But the future, in my opinion, it's hard for me to believe that Javon Evans can't be the guy that you can put the belt on after over. You know, I don't see how. Like he's just so immensely talented, and he's just limitless almost in what he can do. And then, like I said, a vet, we know what Ray Phoenix is about. And I wonder, did Ray Phoenix hurt himself or something here? Because I don't know if how much we've seen of Ray since this. I have to check it, but I don't think he's really been on TV much since then. So I hope he didn't hurt himself, or
Yeah.
he cost. I think he may have one more match after this, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I hope it isn't nothing too serious. But again, this was an incredible match, and I think this match, in my opinion, compared to what we're gonna talk about after this, wasn't really getting the entire like credit that I saw that the last match was getting, but it definitely still had psychology elements to it. I mean, Ethan Page, because no one likes Ethan Page, he got jumped most of this match a lot of times. So I thought that was a nice psychological element that kind of like the odd guy out when it comes to wrestling this style was kind of kept out of the mix for Chunky, but he took a lot of damage, but he took advantage and still was able to come out on top. So
Mm.
I thought it was good. Ethan Page still looked good as a champion. If you want to say in like a cowardly way, I thought he was great. And I think, like I said, Ray Phoenix, Javon Evans are on another planet. And then Laredo Kid, in my opinion, also looked like a really competent luchador here. So I gave it 4.5 stars. This was incredible to me when you really break it down and I love multi-man title matches like for singles belt. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of biased in that sense, but I thought this was a really good one.
Yeah, no, this is great. Like you talk about with Ethan Page, he keeps getting better and better. Even some, the flying that he did in this matchup. But
Right.
he's like the hill from the hill handy book. He's there's nothing. There's no cool chance with him. There's
Nope.
nothing likable. It's he does what the hill should do, as retained the title in the way he did here. And like you said, there was a couple of moments where there's a truth chance and some table chance, which again I just don't understand. But Apart from that, the other thing as well, Conan took full credit for discovering Phoenix and making him a star. He also stated that Ray was the real reason this partnership came together, which is actually really interesting when
Wow.
you think about it as well. You know, it could be
Hmm.
responsible, but I gave this a 4.5. Yeah, I thought this was really, really good stuff. Predictions, we all went paid, so we're all on two. Then AAA hyped the history of Triple Mania as a must see with the next edition of the event on August 16th. And then the main event was AAA Mega Championship El Hijo del Vikingo, who's a champ, obviously, versus Chad Gable. Vikingo successfully met Gable on the mat early on, much to the surprise of the challenger. The champion blasted Gable on the back with 630 splash to the floor off a rope walk. The challenger set up a table outside early, but after multiple teases, Gable moonsaulted into Vikingo on the table. Vikingo only picked up the win with a springboard twisting 450 splash. Gable went for a moonsault, but Vikingo ducked it, headed to the top. Gable caught with a super power driver for a near fall. The champion caught the challenger with a drop kick into a driving Mexican destroyer on the apron. And even though Chad nearly beat him multiple times in the battle, the champion fought through the pain in his ankle, hit the 630 splash for the victory. I mean, Monty, anybody that just says Chad Gable isn't a good wrestler just needs to watch this. But I mean, again, I think both, after maybe what was, cautious start, it just fucking, how great was this?
Yeah, man. Once they got in that gear, I realized real fast that you watching two of the best. You know what I mean? That's the only thing. That's the only way you can take away from it. I watched Vikingo at times at AEW, and I knew he was supremely talented at doing things that probably shouldn't be done because it's just like he's a freak when it comes to some of the lucha style athletic things he can do. But then when you put him in the ring with a guy like Chad, who is just so smart and deceptively, because I don't even think Chad get enough credit for just how athletic he. I know WWE love to say, oh well, he did, he was, he went to the Olympics or whatever, but I don't think they give him enough credit for just how naturally gifted of an athlete he is. And I think in this match, you got a chance to see a lot of that. And I just thought that they went out there and this wasn't as much as, even though we got a lot of those entertaining spots that you get from a Vikingo clash, I thought they did a really good job of still telling a really good story. And like Chad almost winning the way he did. Like, in my opinion, you can't ask for much more than this as a main event for your showcase show for the your first involvement with AAA. Because like again, like I said, the way the show started, if I was a little kid, this is my first time ever seeing this, or if I've never heard of AAA before and I'm watching this, I came into this show intrigued and very interested and like satisfied, and then I finished the show on a crazy emotional ride roller coaster there to finish off the show, and it was just a really fun main event, man. And like I said, I honestly, when I was watching this match, it was so good to me that I was like, I can't believe it's a damn PLE tonight because like that
Yeah.
because that was so entertaining. It's like you don't know, like I was like, man, I know technically the Money in the Bank people don't have to follow that, but like that was incredible. So yeah, man, my respect for Chad Gable is just uh, unlimited at this point. I really think as much as I shit on the El Grande character, I even think he was even finding a way to kind of make that work. And that's just how you know you got a gym when it don't matter really what you do. That the work and just how good and how talented Chad is, he shines through it all. So I know now in hindsight now that I guess just this week he may have an injury or whatever, but like whenever he does return, Chad deserves the world. We've been saying this, but like a huge push in my opinion for him, and I don't necessarily want it to be under the El Grande moniker, but whatever it needs to be done, long as Chad is winning and prospering, because I think he deserves it by far. Because like his ability, in my opinion, is all is it's sad. It's crazy to see that he's still so underrated.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, about it is, like you said, to put him in this situation for him to kind of deliver the way he did, and then any Mexican superstars that are there. I mean, Gable's moonsault was perfect. You know, there's no doubt.
Uh-huh.
The Destroyer looked like it killed him as well. And we talked about Stephanie. Yes, she had 3 matches, you know, of course, one on SmackDown, Money in the Bank. But Gable had this main event and then a Money in the Bank ladder match as well. So when you speak about injuries, it's not really that much of a surprise.
Not a surprise at all, right? Exactly.
But again, this was so good. In the end, of course, we should say Vikingo beat Del Rio the previous week, which would have made the main event a little bit more awkward. And the AAA roster came out to celebrate his victory, ending the night with a champion on El Hijo, Dr. Wagner Jr.'s shoulder. But again, this was match of the year, wasn't it, Monty? Really, you know, if we're going to score it.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's definitely one of those candidates. It has to be a candidate for the by far one of the best WWE matches so far this year. And I guess, yeah, definitely got to say 5. Because again, it's like I said about a kid watching Iguana for the first time or whatever. You look at Vikingo, I don't know how you can come out of that match because not only you come back with respect for Gable, but Gable also managed to make Vikingo look like $1,000,000. And that's all I know that's what AAA wanted for their top guy. So yeah, man, I think this is just, and I don't know what more you can ask for. I mean, maybe if you had more heat going into it, but for a Worlds Collide, for like one of these showcase type of events, this is one of the best main events you can ask for, man.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, 5 for me as well. Predictions all went Vikingos. So the final scores, we all win on, I think, 3 points in the end, or 2. Doesn't really matter, does it? So bonus league, it means Gina's on 10, Jackson on 13, I'm on 14, Monty on 15. So it is tight at the top. Match of the night, I think, for me, obviously, is the main event. This was awesome. My MVP is Mr. Iguana. As well, because again, I could say Steph, I could say Gable, but there was only one man I rewatched the next day. Uh, so, Monty, what's your? I mean, your match might be obvious. Your MVP, and what's your score out of 10?
No, I agree. My match is definitely the main event. And my score out of 10 was I think this was like a strong 8.75. I think it was a really great showcase. It wasn't like again, every match wasn't a banger, but I thought every match did a good job for the most part of just giving you a moment and giving you some intriguing things to look forward to when it comes to this relationship with AAA and WWE. And I think at the end of the day, I think that's what this first show especially was about. Maybe for the next Worlds Collide, we'll get a little bit more heat for some of these matches going into them, maybe leading up to it. I'm not sure how they decide to do it, but as far as just putting a good card together and putting the talent on there to really leave an impression about what AAA wrestling is all about, and then involving them with WWE/NXT talent,
Mm.
you can't ask for much more than that. So I think that was great. My MVP, just to not give it to Iguana, I'm gonna say my MVP is Chad Gable.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Ian Gable was my second pick, and 8 3/4. Like you said, a perfect introduction to anybody watching AAA. And again, the next time this pops up, they'll remember this event and go, let's give this a try as well. Good stuff all around. All
Mm-hmm.
right, we'll move on to some news. Then, and W revealed the 5th class of its next in-line program, with confirmed with 12 former college athletes making a jump to the ring, with hopes of one day being in the company's roster. The class was finalised the same night as Money in the Bank 2025. 12 athletes come from across the country, play various sports, football, hockey, lacrosse, and all that kind of shit. There will be standouts from the classes, though, who are one of them is Oklahoma football player and wrestler Jacob Henry. Yes, the son of former world heavyweight champion Mark Henry. Also on the list is former Jacksonville State receiver Brock Rechsteiner, the son of former world champion Scott Steiner, of course, cousin to Bron Breakker, and TJ Bullard, who is a 3-year player for UCF. His father is current WWE member and global ambassador Titus O'Neil. I feel old, Monty.
Yeah, man. That it definitely ages you up a bit when you think about it. I think it's an awesome opportunity, man, for a lot of those kids to follow in their family footsteps. I'm not really sure who I'm the most excited about because I think they all have the chance and opportunity to do something special. I can't wait to see what Mark Henry and even like you said, a Titus O'Neil's son. Just it'd be nice to see, what because it's always interesting when you're dealing with direct kids of like talents like that. It's easy to say that you can see a Randy Orton, or it's easy to say that you can see a Braun Breaker or whatever, but it's not always like that. So it's always interesting to see how natural some of these kids take to the business. But I'm excited though, and with the way Braun Breaker has taken to it, Scott Steiner's son, I can't I don't know, man. Would you be surprised if he's on NXT television within like a year being an insane athlete? No, I would not be surprised at all. So it'll be incredible to watch how some of these things how this play out. But yeah, man, they don't stop. It's like I mentioned, like every time they're in a major city or whatever, when it comes to work bringing in talent, and lately with their initiatives of giving out NIL deals and stuff like that with talent and from different universities and all of that. It's just they have really shown you. I mean, Obafemi is a result of stuff like of that
Yeah.
pipeline. So they have shown you that it is something to it. As much as I do remember when they changed direction, and a lot of people were not happy with them, kind of basically saying, "Oh, we don't need that indie talent. We want to build them from the ground up." Well, say what you want, but they they they're doing a really damn good job so far of it. So yeah, man, it'd be interesting to see exactly what we get out of any of these talents, going forward. Because like you mentioned, it definitely ages you a little bit, because you're like,
Mm.
man, look at that. This is Scott Steiner's son, or this is like I was just watching your father in the Hall of Fame, Jacob Henry. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But
because
this is the
that
thing.
feels like yesterday, but then you realize, no, that was almost 10 years ago,
Yeah, yeah. And
whatever,
again,
over
with
10 years ago.
the influx of talent as well, like you said, with we talk about the releases and why these happened, and then
Mm-hmm.
you look at this again. As long as they don't name him Von Breaker, that's what I was thinking, like Von and Bron, the Breakers, but maybe not. But again, a look towards the future there as we move towards the next episode of NXT June 10th. Open with a quick video package where we saw Jasper Troy attack Obafemi in the parking lot to soften him up a bit before their bout
Most
later.
dangerous place in the world.
But our boy got fucked up on that windscreen. I mean, I'm not lying, but I was like, fuck, I don't think I've seen Oba like beaten like that ever.
Hey, that's
Shocking.
already a feather in the cap for the young guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, but yeah, I first thing I thought of was like first, not only do we not see Oba in that position a lot, it's just like the first thing I thought of was like, that's how dangerous NXT parking lot is. The most dangerous man in the world is in danger.
That is true, actually. When we went back to the arena, Ethan Page was out to defend the North American title for the second time in 4 days. His challenger was called Sean Legacy. The challenger began to build a lot of momentum, but missed a 450 splash and ended up getting hit with with the twisted grin for the finisher. All Ego was happy about that, obviously, but then Ricky Saints thrust the ring, which he wasn't. They fought to the back for the show cut to NXT General Manager's Ava's office. And again, this is just. We know they don't like each other, and we'll move on. JC Jane ended up agreeing to defend her title against Lainey Reed in a backstage segment. After Izzy Dane explained why she attacked Brooks Jensen because he's weak and feeble and shit. The culling made his way to the ring, so Nick Advance and Sean Spears take on Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. The babyface eventually gained control, but Vance was able to hit his finisher on Briggs, score a relatively quick win. But don't worry, a few of the first class is coming, and Elias, apparently. That is good. And then we get Mariah May's new name was revealed to be Blake Monroe during a video package. She had already changed her name on Twitter and X too. Before we shit all over it, according to reports, the name is a tribute to Blake being the name of her niece, and Monroe, well, I'm not really sure where she got that from. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the name change?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It is a little bit, like you said, when you're so used to like Mariah May and all of that, and I seen how many people was trying to just change her last name to a different month, or just call her Mariah, which I don't think you can, because I think like Mariah Carey got that copyrighted, which is hilarious. That just the name Mariah, you can't go by it because of Mariah Carey. That's great. But anyway, so I don't know. It was very interesting. I kind of figured the Monroe. I kind of figured for some reason they would have like a reference to like Marilyn Monroe in there for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's the look, but I wasn't really surprised there. And then the Blake stuff, like you said, once you find out like the background of it, like okay, that's cool. That makes sense. So I don't, like I said, I don't hate it. It's not JC Mateo. It don't have to grow on me like that one. It don't have to grow on me like that one. So they've done worse. So I'm not too mad at it. It's always weird because when they do these name changes, as fans we've already worked out in our head easier solutions in our opinion, and then we hear the name, we was like, oh, they went a whole different direction. So yeah, it's one of those situations, but I'm not mad at it. I think it'll work for her. And honestly, with the glamour and all of that, having if you look at it as a reference to Marilyn Monroe, it still kind of works. Especially when you think about the stuff her and Tony was doing with the whole classical kind of gimmick.
Yeah, and again, Marilyn May or May Monroe or something like that. But again, we'll stick with
Right.
Blake Monroe. And again, people going, oh, very close to kind of Tony Storm and a gimmick. And why not? If WWE aren't using it, then fucking do it. Yeah, I'm not
Right.
saying be a rip-off, but again, we loved NXT UK when they had all these different characters. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And,
what's wrong with it?
and like if we talk about it, like you got to pick a battle in my opinion, because you can't get always mad at WWE when they treat you like idiots and act like they don't have, like, we know the history, like we know we know that her and Tony has a history. That's literally the main thing she did in
Yeah.
American television, basically, was the angle with Tony. So any type of references or anything that kind of goes there, in my opinion, only helps him to me. I don't see that as a bad thing at all.
No. And again, she's only 26. So, come back in a couple of years if you're still,
Right.
wondering,
Plenty of
about
time
the
to
name
be
change.
whatever she want to be.
Look,
Right. Plenty of
if I
time.
can deal with Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser and Butch, anybody
Think
can deal with
about it.
anything. You know
That's
what I
my
mean?
point.
Like,
Like, look at all the stuff we've gotten used to. Like, it could be
I
a lot worse.
Yeah. Lash Legend got to an argument with Ren Sinclair backstage. They ended up meeting for a match with Kalani Jordan on commentary. Lash was able to get the win, but the way she hit her finish, it didn't look great. Lainey Reed got a huge opportunity when she challenged JC Jane for the women's title. As usual, Fallon Henley and Jasmine Nix were the champion. Jane retained the title with a discus clothesline, and during the post-match celebration, Ava appeared and told Jane she would have to face the winner for Fatal 4-Way. Whoever gets the title shot there would get whoever won that match would get a title shot at Evolution. Reed looked like a mashup of Isla Dawn and Nikita Lyons. But again, I don't know enough of them, so I'm just trying to. I base it off appearance. How how bad is that?
No, hey, at this point, you have so many of them. It's kind of a natural thing to kind of go that route. And honestly, we still haven't seen so much. We haven't seen much of her, other than like her appearances here. So you just kind of got to give it time for her to develop an actual identity outside of what we're seeing here. But I didn't have a problem with it. I thought she was solid enough here against JC. I don't know if that's because JC was controlling it or not. But it's kind of funny when you think about this being a title match for somebody that we are still trying to figure out. But yeah, I mean, Laney was fine. We'll see. Again, kind of like we were just saying about Blake and the timing. I think we have enough time with people like Elaine think about what Tatum Paxley was when she started, and then think about where we are now with that character. Like, we could go a lot of ways before you end up out of NXT. So it'd be interesting to see what direction that we could be going in with her. But yeah, I thought she was solid here.
Yeah. There was a nice segment backstage with Miles Bourne and No Court Catch crew that turned into Tavian Heights, asking to have his own shot against Charlie Dempsey. I don't know what Charlie's doing backstage, but he sounds like a cunt. The family was in action this week when Tony Janjo and Luca Cristofino were in action against Tyson DuPont and Tyrick Igwe. Stack showed up and tried to interfere, but Tony D sent him out of the ring. Looked for a moment like Luca was going to attack the Don, but when he said it was a misunderstanding, High Rise took advantage of the situation and took out Tony D to get the win. My main question is Rizzo's still with those two strange men? Can we get an update, please? Can we get something that's going on? And what are the chances that Tony, has a guy with a crowbar against him, almost every match now?
Man, I'm glad you brought Po Izzo up because she slipped my mind, to be honest. I think that's what happened to the booker right now. They forgot all about the Po girl. But yeah, no, the family story is the family story, and that's what I'll say about that.
Oh, we've got more. We've got more with the family coming up. Trick said he will team with First Class on to come up, which good for us, I
First
suppose.
class trick.
First Class Trick. Main event, you beat me to it. Main event over Femi versus Jasper Troy, NXT Championship. For the first time in his NXT career, Oba played the injured underdog, but he's picking it up. He's picking up so quick. I have to say every update because he's playing it. Look at the guy's size. Look at him. And he's playing the underdog in this one. Jury's out on Jasper Troy. I mean, he's big, He ended up
Right.
whipping Femi into the corner. So the middle broke off the ring. And he looked dominant and powerful as WWE wanted to. But Femi looked just as good, as we said, as the injured champion, fighting for his pride and his title. It took 2 falls from Graces because someone forgot to kick out. But Femi finally got the pin and the win. I mean, come on, man. This was just great. I just want to make sure, though, Monty, this guy's not a part of Dark State because very similar gears.
No, he the guy who won the reality show.
Right.
He won the reality show. He's not a part of the faction that I don't even really know what they do week to week, to be honest. Uh, the 1 week they seem like they gonna take over, the next week they not even there. So what a great group that is. But anyway, yeah, no, this was cool. This like you said. I think the most interesting thing about this match was watching Obafemi have to sell and watching Obafemi have to be, like you say, in that downtrodden, fighting from behind position. Because, like you mentioned, man, we've watched Oba this entire time, and he's never really behind. He's always the dominant factor in most of his matches. So I think that was the coolest part of it. I do think it does give Jasper Troy a little bit of something to work with because you do have that bragging rights that, even if it was because I attacked you before the match, you do have that little bit of like, okay, I had the champion in a tough position. And like you mentioned, James, the reason why it worked for him to be there is because it's not that many men that's big like Jasper Troy that can put Oba in a position to where he looked like, oh wow, Oba might need some help here. So I do think that bodes well for him. But like you mentioned, I think also this match showed that if they have any thoughts of trying to fast track Mr. Troy into this position of being world champion or whatever, because we know Oba seems like you said, Oba gets better every week easily. Like, so we don't necessarily know when they might decide to be like, you know what, Obafemi, it might be time for you to go fight Gunther or whatever. You never know. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
But watching Jasper, I see the potential. He definitely got the size. Like you said, the jury's out. But it does make me wonder that I hope they don't think that they should, just because of his size and just because he looks like a believable person to take the belt off Oba. I hope that they don't rush this kid, because I do think not only that is better candidates like a Javon Evans that I mentioned to take the belt off Oba, who is ready. But also, I just think that, like we mentioned it multiple times here, you don't necessarily have to rush with a lot of this talent. And I think that would be a rushed decision if you decided to do that with a Jasper Troy. Even though I know you want to put over your reality show and all of that, I hope they don't decide to fast track this kid to a championship this early, because I do think that, like we mentioned, it multiple times here, you don't necessarily have to rush with a lot of this talent. And I think that would be a rushed decision if you decided to do that with a Jasper Troy. Even though I know you want to put over your reality show and all of that, I hope they don't decide to fast track this kid to a championship this early, But I do think this is a valuable experience for him. Like, I mean, think about it. Your very first program is with a dominant overfit, the NXT champion. I mean, what
Yeah.
more could you really ask for?
Yeah, but again, this is the thing, and NXT's kind of been lucky in a weird way, where Bron Breakker, or again we talk about Overfemi now. The champions kind of picked up along the way, but not everybody are like them. These guys are special. It just so happens they're kind of around this generation. Once everything pans out, and we talk about Overfemi's son coming to wrestling and stuff like this, then we will realize, so like you said, there is time for everybody. Ober is our
Right.
leader, and everything is fine. TNA Trick gave First Class his full support in the main event. It's First Class versus the Hardys, but Trick attacked Matt to cause the DQ. They continued to assault. When Joe Hendry Elijah came to the aid, the system, the Rascals, Lee and Slater joined the flayed as Impact Zone just turned into NXT, basically, with everybody brawling. But Leon Slater, who is, again, one of those talents who should be watched very closely, took
Mm-hmm.
everybody out. But fantastic he is. Yeah, I'll put him up there with the best. But we're not talking about now. We're going to move on to AAA quickly because they hosted one of their marquee events, is Triple Mania Rihia. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to say, on June 15th from Monterrey, Mexico. One of the problems, though, for international fans hoping to watch it with talent from WWE and TNA was the live broadcast was not available for worldwide access, but they did drop a surprise by posting for free viewing on their YouTube channel 3 matches from the event, which was the main event, the AAA Mega Championship, the Tag Team titles, and the TNA X Division Championship with Moose versus Joe Hendry versus El Messias versus El
Yeah.
Here Del Wagner. Notes from this quickly: there was a 6-sided ring. JBL was there, part of a group with the tag champs. I don't fucking know. There's Spanish commentary. I had no idea, but I just enjoyed it. Joe Hendry was not only over, but had the Mexican style version of his song. How great is that? I want him to go to Japan and do the same thing. Maybe do a duet with Tai Chi or something like this. Just, come on. Um, we
That would
saw
be
Angel.
insane.
We see Angel and Garza become the new AAA tag champions, and they were
Congratulations.
cheered throughout. Fair play to them. They looked great. And the
Wow. I'm happy again. I'm happy for I want AAA booking for Los Garza continuously. Can we get that? Can we get AAA booking continuously for Los Garza?
And there's good news as well. The Nemeths are hated everywhere, especially in Mexico. It's good to see. The main event, Vikingo was booed. The reaction was so
Yeah.
hostile that technicos such as Vikingo's father, Laredo Kid, Octagon Jr., and Nino Hamburger were booed for saving Vikingo from attacks by Del Rio's associates, called Del Rio's brother, who I'd never seen before. So it's always good to see something, you know what I mean? Oh, he's got a fucking brother. Well done. The loudest reaction was to say for the finish when Latin Lover, who was also booed, handcuffed Del Rio to the ropes, allowing Vikingo to escape. Fittingly, though, the handcuffs
Good for
quickly
him,
came
by
off
the way.
Rio, forcing Lover to redo the spot, and then came off again after Vikingo booted Del Rio, forcing him to just lay there as Vikingo made his mistake, made
I
his
was
escape.
so confused watching that finish. I was like, what the hell took out what took Alberto out? And then I had to rewind it back. And I was like, oh, okay. What
I
a mess.
mean, unbelievable. I mean, Del Rio's dye job is a choice. I mean, what could have been if he wasn't such a cunt? But again, I think the booing for Vikingo is very similar to another situation we're probably going to talk about on AEW, where it's just basically they feel he's forced. He just forced the
Right.
situation. The fans don't
Right.
like him.
Yeah, no, that's you're 100% spot on, man. From what I understand, uh, as a matter of fact, from what I understand, he's way more popular here in America than he is down there. Like you say, because of that, it's just they feel like it's a situation where he didn't naturally get his position, didn't naturally get over. He's forced on him, and we've seen those situations. We've seen how that happens here. We've been there with the Roman Reigns and stuff. It's not really much different in them situations here. It's just there in Mexico. So, and the fact that I guess it's kind of my brain. It does confuse you a little bit because it's like, you mean tell me y'all booing him over at Del Rio.
Yeah,
Over
exactly.
that guy.
Like, we think we've got problems in America. Fucking Mexicans are cheering Del Rio. Like,
Right. They're like, man, you want to talk about what I think King used to always say it when they was in different countries, Bizarro land or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what that felt like for a second there. But what all I gotta say is like you said, nothing about that cage match. And when you think about 25 minutes of just like you said, the booing and just the spot at the end not going well, it's an now that's one thing about it. As great as stuff like Worlds Collide is with AAA, they always had this little element of stuff like that too. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So like you get both sides of them in this partnership. You know, you get a chance to see how sometimes it don't go as planned. But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, man. I don't know how they're gonna navigate that, especially with him being on top of AAA in Mexico. If they continue to boo him that way, or are they gonna try to shift his character or whatever? I don't know. It would be interesting to see because his
Yeah.
style don't really fit somebody that you hate. You know,
No.
so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and again, it's an interesting time as well. As we talked about, World's Club was so good. And if you want an even like more crackers experience, then try and catch like Triple Mania or something like that. And I assume with the next Triple Mania that we have, there'll be obviously more WWE talent. And of course, as we talked about, we've been in part of Tag Team Champions, and we
Right.
should hear more. But we move on to NXT June 17th, and it was nearly all about the Evolution Eliminators. We start with Jada Parker versus Thea Hale as Parker made to the ring for the opening match. Hale attacked her from behind. However, Parker turned the tables and rolled into the ring so the referee could call for the bell. Hale felt Parker tap out, but the referee didn't see it. This allowed Parker to hit a finisher after the hold was released to score the win. Uh, I mean, that's a way of doing it, I suppose.
Yeah, interesting way to win, right? Referee didn't see it. Great job, ref.
You
Great
have one
job.
job. You have one job.
Literally your job to
Yeah.
see stuff. Come on, man. Like again, solid. I thought the match was cool, but yeah, and then it made me wonder, like, okay, well, if you're gonna do that, right, we're gonna have a segment later where Thea point out that she tapped, right, or something. And I don't think we got any following up with it.
Nope.
So
The next Evolution eliminate was Lash Legend versus Kalani Jordan. After counting a couple of finish attempts, Legend hit hers to get the win. I don't know what Kalani Jordan done to piss people off recently, but she really has just like even some commentary on losing or stuff. Not like I'm a huge fan, don't get me wrong,
yeah,
but it's not like I hate her. But it's just interesting to see how they go up and down sometimes, like
yeah,
talent in NXT, I meant, not anything else. Like,
right,
yeah.
right. No. It's like if you got like power rankings or whatever, so to
Yeah.
speak, or something, and like every now and then it just seems you see the potential, you see that she can be, special, but then it's like you say, a couple weeks go by and then there's nothing. So it's very very interesting when you think about what they're doing with her. Uh, I'm happy for Lash though because Lash also usually lose in this position. So it was interesting to see her get the victory. But yeah, man, I mean, when you have such a competitive women's division, it's one of those things. Hell, even with Thea Hale, I mean, we talking about Thea Hale. If you go to NXT updates probably from last year, we felt like Thea Hale could be champion, and like it's been stop and starts and whatever unfortunate thing. So it's kind of crazy when you think about how competitive this division is.
Yeah. Well, one thing will never change is Tony D'Angelo talking, and he demanded to know what happened between Stax and Luca Crusifino in the desert. Luca repeated the same thing. He got on his knees, shut his eyes, opened his mouth, and then before he knew it, Stax had walked away. We don't know what happened. I'm guessing. Anyway, Stack said he came out trying to entice Luca to turn on Tony. Luca and Tony tried to fight off his cronies together, but Luca accidentally took down Tony with a big right hand. What are the chances, eh?
Dang.
God.
Wow.
Um, Whoa, Jesus Christ. Hopefully they won't wrestle again to the next PLE. This was wrong, but that was due to something else that happened. But again, man, that's like, wow. How many badly done miscommunication angles can we see in this feud? You know what I mean? Like poor timing issues and everything like that. Anyway, the next bout was a six-man tag match with Elijah, Briggs, and Inamura taking on Williams, Francis, and Wesley, who was replacing an injured Navarro. In a bit of a surprising outcome, Inamura pinned Williams to get the win for his team. We found out during a backstage thing, like we said, that Inamura then gave his title shot to Briggs because it's TNA, and who gives a fuck about that? But a lot of TNA fans, Monty, were upset Trick got pinned by Inamura. And again, I don't know, because I quite like the shock sometimes. But then again, I'm a fan of NXT.
Yeah. I think you kind of got to look at it through the lens of other people who want their belt to be actually protected and stuff like that. And I get it. I understand that, but it was for a reason, I guess, in a sense. Could you have gotten there without Trick getting pinned? Sure, but like you said, NXT fans, I didn't mind it because, like you said, we weren't really expecting it. Whenever you could do something fresh like that, I don't think it's a bad thing. But I understand if you're an Impact fan and you're watching that and you're like, oh, really? So our world champion just losing, random matches or whatever. But like you say, Trick Williams is also not even, if you really want to be honest about it, he's your Impact champion, but he's still an NXT talent. So anything can happen in that regard, if you ask me. But I thought it was cool. I was kind of bummed out that Inamura gave up the title shot.
Yeah, he just
I'm way more interested, right? Way more interested in him versus Trick than I am in Briggs. But take what you can get.
Well, this is again like Inamura. I don't know what Briggs has got over him, but to give him like title match and stuff, just doesn't want Brooks Jensen back. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I'll give you this, but just don't bring Brooks back. In the matchup, Elijah was injured during this and suffered a torn tricep. Ouch.
Ooh.
And like we talk about, most people would be pissed Inamura beat Trick, but hopefully he just needs to Trick beating someone clean. Maybe. I don't know. Back to the Evolution Eliminators, Zarya versus Izzy Dame. Paxi distracted Zarya by hugging Ruka from behind and freaking her out, which opened the door for Dame to hit a spine buster for the win. I'm still not sure about this booking either way, Monty. I really don't fucking know. You know what I mean? I go, oh, all right, yeah, but...
Everybody who watched this match should never be afraid of Zarya as long as she got Soul Ruka around. Because keep that in mind. All you have to do is bother Soul, and she will be so distracted that that you can win. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm with you on that. I think they see a lot more in Izzy, even though I don't hate Izzy, by the way, but I think they see a lot more in Izzy than I do initially. I think Zarya definitely had more potential, but if they do it right and Zarya use moments like that to explain why, or depending, we talked about this again, the split, and it's not that I'm trying to fast forward because I don't necessarily mind their love affair or whatever they got going on because it's fine. But after a while, Zarya has to realize that, especially with Soul Ruka walking around still champion and doing her thing, this relationship is holding you back. And this is a perfect example of it. You know what I mean? I don't know what's a better example than your partner gets grabbed and then now you lose focus to the point to where you can't even, focus on winning your qualifier match. So yeah, man. If they play the cards right in that regard, whenever the time is right to do that, then maybe some of this can be forgiven. But I'm with you. It's kind of tough at times to get behind some of these decisions when it comes to Zarya.
Yeah, no, it's just frustrating. But again, hopefully they can sort it out as we carry on throughout the year. Of course, final Evolution Eliminator saw Jordan Grace take on Lola Vice. Vice looked great here, but it was Grace who ended up scoring the win. I guess she's not finished in NXT yet, but her new theme is fucking awful. Apparently, it was even like she owns the rights to her own theme, which I thought was cool, but they were worried it sounded too much like Bron Breakers, and he didn't want the sirens.
Which is just foolish to me in a sense. Like, I get it, but I mean, one of them is actually in the family, and one of them was called Big Mommy Pump
What was
at
given
one
it?
period of time. Like, come
Yeah,
on, like,
yeah.
come on now. It's not really that confusing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I mean, and if you really was that word, you could play. They don't have to be. They're not on the same show. And they honestly don't ever have to be on the same show if you're really that worried about a siren or whatever. But okay, I guess a siren only is a Steiner thing, We just forgot all about that right to censor horrible entrance music.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, is and if the Steiners hadn't given her the sirens to use anyway, which they did, but
Yeah,
you know,
right. She had a history with Scott in Impact.
but I guess it's like the glass smash. You know, you're not allowed to do, or the car crash, or
Right.
I'll try to think of other laws. There's not a door knock. Maybe have that. Anyway, Noam Dar sighting. He is still champion, and the show ended with Monroe coming out to sign a contract with NXT General Manager Ava. The new signing called NXT the best women's division in the world. He contractually obliged to, love, and said W have always been her dream. Fatal Influence showed up and got into a fight with Monroe. Fallon Henry and Jason Jane put through a table while Ava watched in frustration. And I'm a bit surprised to see her taken out so early in her run. But again, they have to make Fatal Influence seem like a threat.
Yeah, I think that I agree. I think that's basically all this was. It's like we got to build them up. I'm with you. It was definitely one of those situations where I was like, okay, are we sure we want to, do this right, like this right now? But I don't think it was a horrible thing, so to speak, in my opinion. Uh, I think it was a decent segment. Mariah was standing up to them, but like you said, maybe they know mentally for people who are familiar with Mariah that we kind of already view Mariah in like a higher standing than a JC Jane or than a you know what I mean. So maybe it's
Yeah.
like, all right, let's immediately go out there and not necessarily try to humble her, but let's immediately go out there and show that no, you're gonna have to deal with this threat because the numbers game or whatever the reasoning may be. So I kind of understand it, but it was definitely, like you said, a shock that this early that they've already kind of left her laid out. But hopefully that only leads to a reckoning when we get when she decides to when she's able to kind of get her revenge.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, I think overall, any argument that an all woman show wouldn't work needs to kind of watch this because even the Tony thing wasn't even proper wrestling, was it? So it was a woman that kind of gave us everything. Even if it's just an hour show, just to do that to build it to storylines, it's as simple as that. It works, and I don't know why they still haven't done it, Monty. Do you know what I mean? Like all these other shows and
Mm-hmm.
ideas they come up with, and they never thought just give the women an hour. Like even in AEW, make Collision the first hour, just women's wrestling. I don't understand what's wrong with
Yeah,
that.
I don't get it either. I really don't. I'm
Yeah.
with you. I've always been a thing, and I was actually when they kept dragging their feet about Evolution too. I was like, can we just turn Evolution into a weekly television show
Mm.
or something? Especially
Yeah.
like you said with the LFGs and with the whatever. I would definitely tune in to a weekly where there's an hour or they just do a couple hours and it's nothing but women's wrestling, and we flesh out some of the women's storyline that we see weekly, whether it's
Yeah.
NXT, WWE, or whatever. So yeah, and the same thing can be said, especially for AEW when we think about so much talent. Like I like for example, I saw a clip from a match, Deonna Purrazzo in Impact. I forgot who she was fighting. I think it was against Trinity, and I was like, man, I miss Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't that be a great place to showcase the Deonna Purrazzos of the world? You know what I mean? A women's hour or something.
Yeah, without a
So
doubt.
I agree.
There's so much talent out there. One funny thing after this episode, I couldn't remember if Corey Graves was on commentary or not. And I don't know if that like says more about me or about Corey Graves because I was just like, I honestly couldn't tell you if he was on commentary or not. Don't worry, we will solve that mystery on the next episode of NXT. Before that, Impact June
I think he
19th.
was.
I think he was, yeah. But Impact June 19th, we had an actual quite a good match. It was the champions of TNA versus an all-star team. So it was Elijah, Joe Hendry, Leon Slater, and the Rascals, which was, of course, Zachary Wentz and Trey Miguel. They defeated the tag champions, the Nemeths. Trick Williams, obviously, with Moose and Steve Macklin involved in a Champions Challenge. Ryan was pinned by Elijah. Obviously, this was recorded before the injury, so they might have to pivot there. We'll move on to we're on NXT June 24th. We started the show Yeah, this is the last one. God, we got here already, Monty. I was just checking. I didn't want to be sure. We start the show with the old school promo packages for each of the four women in the main event. But the first match was the TNA title on the line. Josh Briggs versus Trick Williams. And like we talked about, Inamura gave Briggs his TNA title shot because it's only TNA and he doesn't give a shit. I don't know if Briggs knew, but he had a skull on his shoulder. Maybe someone should check that out. I didn't know if they knew. Inamura tried to provide Briggs with support and distracted Williams long enough at one point for Briggs to recover. Briggs did well. He just needs to find a personality. Trick retained with the trick shot, and Joe Hendry's music hit, and the muted crowd watched him attack Trick from behind.
Yeah,
I
man. What do you
mean,
think about that?
what the fuck? Hill did it later on in the show. Page did the same thing.
Right.
You meant to cheer it because it's Joe Hendry. And again, I don't think that outfit is helping him. Do you know what I mean? I know it's his gimmick, but I don't know if it is.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was. I couldn't believe it. That was the biggest takeaway I kind of got from there. Even though, like you said, Josh, I thought was solid here in his title match. Trick showcased a lot of athleticism. Against the big fella. So that was cool. But to get to that Hendry run out and for the NXT people to not, and we talking about NXT, they cheer almost everybody. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, why all of a sudden do we have a problem with showing love to Joe Hendry here? It was very, very intriguing. I don't know if it really means much. I don't know if it was just one of those things, that happens from time to time, but it was definitely a thought provoking little reaction when you really think about it. Because I don't, again, I just wasn't really expecting it. But again, solid enough segment. We know where we're going. But I'm interested, to see, have they made the title match? Because I know they put like Hendry in a title match with Slammiversary. But like, have they? Did they allow Mike Santana to get in there also? Or are we getting a multi-man match for Trick's belt, or will this be a rematch of just him and Joe Hendry? It's really interesting to see, but that was definitely a little shocking to me because I know he's been kind of booked up and down kind of since losing the belt, but I don't think I'm definitely surprised. No reaction.
Yeah. Now that's what surprised me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" But again, maybe come out and sing a funny song, that would be all right. But I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this since the NXT TNA relationship, but we know Impact Plus, the streaming service that they've got, they've actually doubled subscribers
Wow,
since this, doubled.
that's
Like,
great.
how fucking crazy is that?
That's
Like,
insane. That's
I just
insanely well. That's insanely good right there. And I think I'm glad because so many people are so skeptical of the relationship, and I'm not saying WWE don't deserve the skepticism. Yes, I get it. I get why people were skeptical, but I'm just saying like that's one of the greatest right there. Points to show you how or whatever can be a positive for Impact.
Mm.
In ways that I was looking at I think it was, and like I think because it's like 3 weeks or so out or whatever, and they're like 1,000 or so seats selling that thing out. So like
Mm.
you never, a lot of the big shows for Impact have been. I think the relationship is working. I don't know about you. I know you're a bigger Impact fan than me, but I think it's working. Even if Impact has not always been maybe showcased the way the diehard Impact may want them to be.
Yeah. Well, I think if you base it just on a few things, attendance, like merch sales, and people actually interested in the product, then it's worked. And I don't know what else you base. Do you know what I mean? What else would you base
Right.
kind of success off? And
Right.
at the moment,
What else you want?
yeah. Oh, it's not my
Right.
favorite wrestler showing up. Like, I don't know, but at the moment, it's definitely working for TNA. And again, NXT ratings, which we don't really talk about anymore, I think have been kind of consistent in 700,000 range. So again, there
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to be a problem. Anyway, Miles Bourne was talking to, I'm guessing, football players, where Lexis King tried to get the
Yeah.
attention. This segment was pointless. Yeah, back in the arena, Tavian Heights took on Javon Evans. Heights wearing a mask because Charlie was too rough in training. Evans scored a clean win as Charlie Dempsey and Renske looked on for ringside. Sadly, a celebration was cut short by an attack from Jasper Troy. Oh no! But Monty, you touched on it earlier. Hopefully, this is just to show Javon can beat the big man.
Right. I think like I said, we've kind of established that they want Jasper Troy to be around the title picture. Him targeting Javon Edwards to me, like I said, definitely means that Javon is closer to the Ober's belt than not. And I think, like you said, if they have a little feud and Javon overcomes the big guy, the only logical result, in my opinion, is that eventual one-on-one clash between him and Obafemi for the championship, where I think the torch can possibly be passed. Now, again, that's a tall task. Talking about Obafemi, and and Javon is definitely going to have to showcase it. But I do think an angle with a big guy like a Jasper Troy can definitely allow them to strap that rocket to the back. Because again, I don't know what more you want from the kid. Because in my opinion, Javon is ready for that rocket.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Ricky Saints was finally cleared to compete and return to action this week against Ashanti Lee Adonis. Saints scored the win with his Rochambeau, was immediately attacked by Ethan Page. And we get it. You don't like each other. You keep brawling. But one of the things I never thought to say, and this is still early in NXT, don't get me wrong, but what Saints hasn't got at the moment, Page has. That makes sense. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? That's what I feel at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very shocking too because again, with the fresher face, you almost expect to always kind of get the shine. But so far, they've done a really good job of kind of letting Ethan Page, you know, you not necessarily usurp him, but definitely, uh, like you said, make a bigger impact, so to speak, in these moments. And hell, I mean, look how easy Ethan Page did the Rochambeau to him. He did that was easy if you see how he picked him up. I was like, wow, Ethan Page stronger than he looks. But yeah, so it was it was a nice segment. I'm with you. I'm kind of ready for it to what is the next gear, and is it a next gear for this feud, or are we just going to continue that we hate each other until we eventually get Ricky the title back? I don't know, but I do think, like again, I am still intrigued in what they're doing as foes for each other because I do think they have good chemistry.
Yeah, Dark State, we mentioned them. They say they're still about. Rumor has
Okay.
it they might show up in TNA. Oh dear. Um, oh dear. We should say Anna Grace, I don't know if I mentioned it, has finished up in TNA as well. She's no longer there. So again, not being used much in NXT. Hopefully, there's a chance. Anyway, and I did notice Corey on commentary, but only an hour in. But he was there. All right. Our ruler NXT champion over Femi came out next to the ring. That is, he says he's in 6 months. He's put everybody down. I ain't arguing. There are footnotes in his legacy. Sing it, brother. And he's not coasting or basking in his glory. Do it. Go on, do it. Basking is don't you fucking do me like that. But he's restless and needs challenges. Come on down. And Inamura, he wants a proper title match. He's like, I had TNA, but that was shit. I want NXT instead. And after brutal interaction, Troy attacked Inamura and got in Femi's face. Well, I suppose they'll be in these bodies, but Inamura, man, he's a bit picky.
I don't know what other way you can take that up than offensive. Just like, hey man, Jabri, you know what? You seem like you TNA caliber. You stick with that. I'm gonna go challenge over 50.
I'm a challenger proper champ. Um, but again, we did see Trichinoba backstage, and it was like, you're right, champ," which I thought was really funny. Like, I dig that.
Right. Like, well, man, it was nice to see them interact like that. But again, it's like I said, it really does feel like Sharon truly believe that that's one A and one B right there. You know,
Yeah.
he doesn't really value one over the other at the moment. So that's a kind of cool angle when you think about it. But yeah, man, it's uh the title scene, man, is interesting because Obafemi is such a dominant presence. That's why again I mentioned it earlier. I really don't want them to pull the trigger on Jasper too early because I feel like not only with the Javon Evans and then like even more, Like I like it. Like Obafemi said, he needs challenger. He needs fresh faces, fresh people to take on. And I'm down with it as long as Oba is still running around doing his thing. Because I mean, come on, man, we talked about it. It's nobody like him. You know,
No.
he's still our ruler, and I'm along for the ride.
Yeah, without a doubt. Someone that's not been doing too well recently, Wesley, but he faces Joe Hendry in the next update, so hopefully things can pick up. And it looks like it will be Fallon Henley versus Blake Monroe in her debut. Noam Dar was scheduled to defend the NXT Heritage Cup Championship against Shannon Stacks Lorenzo. However, plans have changed on the Saturday beforehand. Ava made a surprise announcement saying due to injury, Dar will not be able to compete and will have to relinquish the Heritage Cup. Stacks will compete against Tony D instead. Ava didn't reveal the nature and timing of Dar's injury, but according to CageMatch.net, Dar's last match took place on June 13th when he defeated Stacks at an NXT Live event. Dar's only 31 still. He previously sidelined for 11 months due to a leg injury, as we saw suffered in May 2024. Returned to action in April, defeated Lexis King. Remained active in live events and WWE Speed Division, where he lost to Berto in the men's tournament. But all in all, Monty, we have spoken about it. Is this the end of Noam Dar? Because it's horrible to think and how long he's been around. But I mean, Heritage Cup is secondary, and we'll talk about that. But first off, with Dar, who's had such an impact here on NXT Update, you know?
Yeah, man. Again, he's been one of my favorites, even in the 205 Live days. He easily became one of my favorites, and somebody that I was impressed with, and somebody I saw as with potential. And when you think about how long he's been in the system, like I just mentioned, basically since the 205 Live days, and that's what kind of makes me worry about his future when you think about the major injuries and just how long we've been kind of waiting for a legitimate run for him. Like we know what he did in NXT UK, and like I think the best thing that's on his side is kind of like the same thing that's on the side of Tyler Bate, and like even Pete Dunne, since that they still are so young, even though they've been
Mm.
doing this for so long. I do think that age kind of helps, so to speak, in his case. But at the same time, again, I'm not crazy. Would I be shocked that if we ran into some releases and then a name like Noam was on there? No, I would not be shocked. I would be disappointed because I just, again, like I said, I feel like he had so much to offer as a talent, and and he's hilarious. I think his work technically is very, very good also. So to kind of really, again, to really see that he hasn't really ever been able to kind of reach where I think he's always had the potential to reach, is very interesting, man. And it bums you out. I know it bummed me out when I heard about this injury because he just came back. It just kind of got him started back with the cup again, and I thought maybe this could open the door to him, even if he was still with the cup. I thought he had the potential to possibly turn this into something else too, without metaphor now and all of that. So it sucks. The timing of it is very, very unfortunate, man. So I don't know. I wish him the best, but if, like I said, do I want that to be the result? No. But like when you think about the injuries and when you think about how long he's been in the WWE system, NXT system, I'm a long ways away from ever even thinking about him on the main roster, and that's never really a good place to be when you think about potential people in NXT. You don't
Yeah.
want to think about it that way, and I think that's kind of like where I'm at, and it sucks because I really like Noam Dar, and I think he has a lot of star potential, but it's just one of those things where it's a little bit of bad luck, a little bit of his size and all of that probably playing a factor against him when it comes to when people are giving him the eye test. But I don't know. I wish him the best, and I hope I'm wrong, and he does get healthy and he's able to give us a run in NXT that we can enjoy. But yeah, man, it just really sucks when you really think about injuries and timing of injuries and how they can play a factor in a talent like him, his career.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, for me, even being released or not, hopefully not, can recover. But it feels a bit like, Tegan Knox as well. When you just
Right,
suffer these kind of indefinite, devastating injuries, you just want them to kind of get back in action and have a run, kind of fully fit. We've seen it with wrestlers before in the past with injury. I mean, look at Randy Orton, how many injuries he suffered in his
right,
career, and still be able to do it. And again, he's still got age on his side and can make any gimmick work, So even if
right.
it's wherever he goes, he will be wanted. Unfortunately, the Heritage Cup is still here, and it is going to be Tony D versus Challenge Stacks Arendo. They were forced to wrestle, I hope the end game, though, is not a battle for the consigliere because I can't spell it and it is tough to say. But anyway, Timo Roman Reigns was one of the three men with Stacks. There was no Luca, but I'm sure he won't get involved. When did they go back to the round rules? Did I miss
Thank
it?
you. I'm glad you brought it
Like,
up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was so confused. I was like, Noam Dar won this on just like a 5 minute match. Like, when the round, we finally figured out how the cup's supposed to be done. I don't know. I don't know who. I don't know.
No, I don't know either. Anyway, Ledom run right after his ex right hand man, but Stacks brought some aggression to the ring. The first round ended without a fall. Ledom got the first decision after the second round began. Stacks was close to getting the fall, but failed before the third round. He tied it up 1-1 by going after the knee of Tony D. Luca Crucifino finally showed up. Oh, shit. He was in Tony's corner as the fifth round began, and Luca accidentally hit Tony D with a bucket. Of all the things, it was a bucket by one of the Stacks guys. Stacks got the pin and the win, and the Don took out Luca afterwards. So their alliance may be over sooner than we think. But Monty, it's a dark day for the Heritage Cup. Not since Brooks and Jensen were tag champions has the NXT legacy been this tarnished. And also not that, but where the fuck is Rizzo? What are your thoughts?
Oh man, I'm begging them. Somebody has to listen to this show, right? Where we be like, please just retire it, man. Like, we don't need this. We whatever you. First of all, like you said, whatever you pulling Tony D and Stacks out of their comfort zone, which is out of backstage vignettes, you already playing with fire. But then you put them in the rounds match, and it's just like, oh, okay, you want guys, two guys who we barely can think can wrestle anyway. We want to put them in this situation where they got to go out there and give us a 2 or 3 matches in one, and then we have, like you said, James, you mentioned this earlier. What the hell is up with this? I accidentally did this type of spot. Why? It's like 3, 4 times. If I'm Tony D, I don't want anything to do with anybody anymore because, like, it's always an accident or
Get away.
whatever.
Just stay away, all right?
Just stay the hell away from me, whatever I'm doing.
Final
Please leave me
destination
alone.
shit. Yeah.
Right. Like, what the hell is going on? To where every week somebody is screwing up on accident. It's like, nah, man, it's not worth it, man. It's time to do your own thing, Tony, in that regard. But yeah, man, I don't know, man. Like I say, I think not only was it a bad idea for this match, but putting them in a round situation it just make a bad situation worse. But it is what it is. I thought this was congratulations to Stacks. Can you believe it? Stacks has like a singles, not really a championship, but a singles accolade to his name. So your wonderful Heritage Cup that with the great, like the Mark Coffee run and the Noam Dars and the A Kids.
Oh God.
And
No.
we
It's
welcome
horrible.
Channing Stacks Lorenzo to that great lineage of Heritage Cup holders.
Oh
So
God.
yeah, congratulations.
Uh, it is so stupid. Oh God. Hank and Tank were attacked. It's the culling. All right. It's the culling. Joe Hendry gave an interview. He confirmed he will face Trick Williams at Slammiversary. Hang on a minute. We've not seen that on TNA yet. TNA's second biggest pay for the year, which we'll cover on the next update, along with the Great American Bash, where there has been no build at all. I don't know when we're going to start doing a build, but we've not seen it on this update. All right. That's true. And
Are we
before
sure we still getting that show?
Well, that's what they said, didn't they? You saw the graphic. I was like, look, the date's there, but they've not mentioned any matches. So I don't know.
We getting a better bill for Evolution 2 and
Oh
everything
yeah.
Slammiversary.
Well, at least we've
Hey
got
man,
one
they
match on
busy. They
Evolution
busy,
2.
James. They
Yeah,
busy.
they've got
Okay.
one match on Evolution 2. That'd be enough. And then they're just, bring out Starks and Paige to just brawl throughout Great American Bash or something. Anyway, before this week's main event, fuck Chase You. Okay, I've done that. On to Fatal 4-Way to find JC James next channel for the NXT Women's title at Evolution on July 13th. Jordan Grace, Jada Parker, Izzy Dame with Tatum Paxley versus Lash Legend. And Legend seemed to be the most dominant competitor during the first half until she accidentally sent herself into the ring post. So Ruka came to take Tatum Paxley away for her own good, apparently. I don't know either. Leaving Dame without the backup she planned on having. Grace ended up getting a win by pinning Parker. It looked like Legend might pull it off, but the Juggernaut emerged as the new number one contender. Monty, what were your thoughts on this main event?
I thought it had some really good moments. I did love how much of a threat Lash Legend came off as, because again, that's kind of been my biggest sticking point with. I mean, you look at Lash Legend, just like how can she not be the most dominant woman in that division? So sometimes I definitely be wondering what the hell they're thinking in that regard. But again, I thought it was some pretty good moments in here, especially Jordan Grace and some of her feats of strength, like the turnbuckle spot and all of that, and just Jordan Grace being the veteran that you can trust to kind of almost do anything in there. And I don't know how I felt about like the kidnapping part, but I think we already kind of mentioned how the whole Zaruka thing is just kind of in its own world. And Tatum Paxley actually kind of fit in that regard, where when it comes to like when we watch it don't feel like it's a part of a wrestling show sometimes. But it is what it is. I don't know. I guess we'll see where that leads. Probably a tag match between Izzy and Tatum versus them two. I guess it's probably where we're gonna go with that. But again, Jada in this situation too looked good. Looked like somebody who could potentially be in that spot. But overall, I think Jordan is the right spot, is the right person. My only problem is that if we do this and we decide to go this route, are you gonna have Jordan Grace lose to JC Jane? She lost to Stephanie Valkyrie. I don't know if Jordan can necessarily afford that, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see how they decide to do that. Is Evolution the place to do that? Too, that's another thing. Is that a place to do that title change and allow Jordan Grace to finally have a crown and achievement that she's been working hard for? I don't know, man. Especially when you think about JC's and the group's involvement with Blake Monroe. You know, who do you pull the
Yeah.
trigger with and how they decide to go about it will be very interesting. But I don't necessarily see it. To me, now I could be dead wrong again, but I don't see Jordan Grace losing to JC Jane. It just wouldn't make much sense to me unless we do a numbers game situation. And I don't know if you do that on Evolution, but it'll be interesting to see where we are and how things look by the time we even get to Evolution.
Yeah, without doubt. Well, that is it then. So finally, we just talked about the women's division, but what are your thoughts on NXT this month, Monty? Like I said, we had no build whatsoever for Great American Bash, which is a bit weird for NXT. We've got one match for Evolution. We obviously know the main event for Slammiversary as well. So I think the next time we do an update is going to be really interesting. But what are your thoughts on the past and maybe for the future?
Yeah, I think overall that it was a pretty decent round of shows. I mean, like we talked about Worlds Collide. It's like I truly believe that because I'm not sure how much of like we know the Impact relationship has been in place, but how much uh, beforehand did the AAA relationship come and develop? And is that relationship some of that involvement the reason why we kind of have a tough time sticking to what's going on? Because you really think about it, you got AAA, you got Impact, and then you have Evolution, which is basically involving all the women. So they're being pulled in a lot of different directions when it comes to making booking decisions. They're the only show to even mention Evolution up to this point, which I'm sure will, fast track something towards Evolution on the main roster after Night of Champions, I'm assuming. But yeah, man, I mean, we just got so much going on. There's so much playing. Like I said, American Bash will be here before you know it. And basically, like you mentioned, the only thing I really can foresee already being on there is definitely like a Ricky and Ethan Page rematch, street fight or whatever, something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they build that and how much heat you can put behind some of those things. And but also like with the Slammiversary, how much NXT will be involved in that, and how much it's really interesting to see just how they decide to go about some of these decisions. But again, overall, I think we still have some pretty good things going on in NXT right now.
Yeah, I mean, and when you consider as well the last couple of updates, we've lost Fraxium and then Stephanie Verquer, and we're still not in a bad place. Like I said, the tag division might need a little bit build. We don't know if Blake Monroe might face JCJ in that Great American Bash the night before, and then the winner faces Grace or something like that. I'm not sure. So it's a very, very interesting time with TNA, AAA, and of course NXT. But that is it for now. Don't forget, of course, all social media, X at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR Pod James. You can find the entire WNR team on the banner. Also now on Blue Sky, WNR Podcast, and Reddit. Monty, where can people find and follow you?
You can find me at my Monty Pod primarily on Twitter right now. That's where I'll be making my post and talking about wrestling. So check me out there.
And the Dublin also on Facebook and Instagram. Send us an email at dublinpodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, podcast got the same time on YouTube as do SoundCloud on your phone, also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. That is it. Our next episode will be next weekend for Night of Champions. But until then, I've been James Vernon and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, thank you for joining me for an update, and we are all up to date at this moment in time.
Feels good to be where we need to be. I can't wait to see what's next for NXT. And at this point, it's the NXT Impact AAA update. At this point, it feels like so. We're working, but hey, I have no problem with it. We're doing good, so it's good to catch up.
Without a doubt. Well, thanks for listening, everybody, and bye.